Welcome back to the junk room. The lower junk room. I lowered everything. Now, before we get started with this video, I'm going to give you a chance to win a Star Wars junk box. Well, not just Star Wars junk box. Let's call it a pop culture junk box. Toy junk box. If you're in the U.S., sorry, I'm not paying for no international shipping and going all the way down to the post office and all that. Ain't got time for all that. But something over here that you can see, it's not something behind me where you have to look around my back and everything. Something that's over here, or over here, or somewhere in the video is something from my childhood. Now, a lot of these toys, although they're vintage, I rebought myself. Probably most of them in the 90s and 2000s when I was getting back into collecting vintage. But there's one item I held on. Well, there's a few items that I held on to. One I'll give you away is my Nintendo from 1986. But there's one that goes back farther than that. In fact, my brother had it, then I had it. And it's back here in the junk room somewhere. I'm not going to say what it is, but you're the first person to tell me what it is. You win a Star Wars junk box. So how do you enter? Well, you just leave it in the comments below. I read all my comments below and check back because I'll reply to the one and pin it to the top that wins. The first one to tell me what out of all this stuff I had and my brother had as a kid, then you automatically win. Easy, first one. Now that we got all that out of the way, we got some more stuff to get through. Patreon. Become a Patreon supporter. Get exclusive content, videos early, bloopers, who knows what else you'll get. Or go to thatjunkman.com. Well, you can't go there. I'm just so used to saying that. Go to the description below and order a t-shirt like this one right here. Or you could even get this one right here. Don't really care which one you get, but whatever one you get, or both, helps go back to support this channel. Now, all that out of the way, let's get right to it. What are we going to talk about today? One of my favorite things, eating head. Or should I say, giving head. I mean, giving candy heads. Giving candy out of heads. I don't know what I'm talking about here. Back in the 80s and I guess into the 90s and maybe still today, toy companies like to put little candy into heads. I remember there was an Alf one. And there was a lot of different ones. But we're going to look at the original Star Wars candy heads. Not original Star Wars because there wasn't any. For Empire Strikes Back, we got Series 1 and Series 2. And then for Series 3, Return of the Jedi. What I love about this line, well, one thing that's really great about it is you can pick up these candy heads, empty, no candy in them anymore, unless you get lucky. But who's going to eat almost 40-year-old candy? It's got peanut butter in it, and you know I'll eat it. But these didn't have peanut butter in them. That wasn't really good candy. But you were mostly buying it for the container to keep it in. And one thing I really love about these is they went with obscure characters. There was no Han Solo. There was no Luke Skywalker. There was no Ben Kenobi. There was no Princess Leia. There was no Captain Kirk. They went with obscure. Now, Darth Vader's probably the most famous of the heads they had. And I think there's those Chewbacca. But they didn't do any of the humans, I guess. I guess they didn't want to pay likeness rights or something. I'm not really sure why. And even then, they kind of went with obscure ones like 2-1B. But before we look at each head, let's look at the shipping box they came in. To me, I really love this era of Star Wars. It's my second favorite era. I love Star Wars 77 through 79 when everything was still new. I love that time period. But this was the Empire Strikes Back era. Star Wars was a huge hit. Everyone knew and loved it. So I still love this era also. The original trilogy era before Star Wars was shoved down our throats. But let's look at the original Topps Candy Head box for Series 1. As you can see, the little hard candy, which costs 35 cents, now today it'd be about $10. They were inside the head. You just turned the knob and one of the little hard candies would come out. The art on the box looked great, but it doesn't really represent the heads inside. Such as Boba Fett, who looks great in this photo, but the head looks a lot different. Well, how different does the head look compared to the art on the box? Let's take a look inside. First, we'll take a look at the Steam Trooper. That's just a joke. A Stormtrooper. Here he is, all white, with the base that says The Empire Strikes Back. This is really, really thin plastic here. If you chewed on it, for some reason I like to chew plastic as a kid, it would very easily put a hole in it. As you can see, there was no color other than white to the head. And here's Boba Fett. As you can see, it looks a lot different than it does on the package, where they had the details of the color. Again, they went really cheap, but it was 35¢. No color was added, just a green mold of Boba Fett's mask. And one of the few main characters we have is Chewbacca. Oh, what a Wookiee. And as you can see from this photo here, how cheap the plastic is. As you can see, the hole in his nose. But in the films, Chewie's only really one color, so this looks really good. But it would have been nice if they painted the eyes and maybe the teeth. Next up, and I'm going to try to say this right so Captain Foley doesn't get angry, C-3PO. And here he is, Gold Rod himself. Again with the Empire Strikes Back base, the head inside, head being filled with candy, twist the base into candy, pops right out. And the last of Series 1, which I think is probably the best one out of the box, Darth Vader. Again, he's all black just like in the film, so you're really not missing much detail. The face looks a little long, but overall, I think this is probably the best looking one, at least from Series 1. As a kid, although I was a Boba Fett fan, I probably would have grabbed this Darth Vader head first, just cause it looks the most like the one from the movie, being as all black. Now, if you enjoy sucking on hard stuff, this was the candy for you. This wasn't marshmallows inside. This wasn't caramel inside. This wasn't peanut butter inside. Oh, I love peanut butter. This was just one of those hard candies that you sucked on. You know, kind of like that guy at the park would always have in his pocket. Hey, junk kid, you want some hard candy? Come on over to my van, you can suck on one. Why were they always at the park? Did the city hire people to hang out at the park and give you hard candy to suck on? Maybe it was just my town. But let's go on to Series 2, which I think it gets a little better here. First, again, the box. And here's the Series 2 box, or as it says on the box, the Yoda series. As you can see, there's 4 new heads, and the candy isn't round anymore. Now it's more barrel shaped, but I'm guessing it still tastes the same. And it still costs 35¢. If you notice, Bosk says Bounty Hunter Bosk instead of just Bosk. None of the other characters don't have their job title. It doesn't say Jedi Yoda, doesn't say Dr. 21B, and it doesn't say Wannabe Horse Tauntaun. And I really love the look on Yoda's face. It's probably the most human looking Yoda I've ever seen. Now, let's take a look inside the box. Here's a look at the Tauntaun from Series 2. The seam to hold the plastic together is right down the center. I don't know why they decided to make it right in the middle instead of going around the long way. They did it right down his face. But this was made by the company Topps, who did the Star Wars trading cards, so you think they would have done a little bit better job. And I know they were 35¢, but if they went a little bit more in the detailed look of the head, they probably could have got 45¢. And here's my favorite from the series, Bosk. Look at this. I love the look of this head. It looks like a Loch Ness Monster head. Reminds me of Return to Mayberry. But I really like this one. Although it doesn't really look like Bosk when you think of Bosk, it's still a very cool looking head. The main one from this series was of course Yoda. And this one here looks a little off for Yoda. It doesn't look like his ears are long enough. And probably one of the oddest they decided to make was 21B. When you think of all the characters in Empire Strikes Back, 21B? Why not a Wampa? Why not a Cloud Car Pilot? I mean, even a Monarch would have been better than this. And again, they put the seam right down the middle of the face. I don't know why they put the seam there. I'm not a toy head candy maker, so maybe I don't know the technical reasons why they couldn't go around the head this way, so at least would hide it better if you wanted to display it. But I guess most kids didn't care. They just ate the candy out of it and then put it on their finger and went, I am Bosk, I'm 21B, how are you? I am good. I know I did that, and I know you did that also. But that's a look at the Empire Strikes Back hard candy. But don't worry, we got Series 3, Return of the Jedi. And you know, if it's Return of the Jedi, there's going to be some Ewoks. First, let's look at the box art. As you can see, 2 Ewoks. Again, no main characters, no Han, no Luke, no Lando, no Wedge. This one's loaded with candy, like the others, but they did change up the candy for this series. These were more antacid tasting. They were like Flintstone vitamins meet Tums. Let's open that box up and take a look inside. And with the Return of the Jedi, we got a little bit more color added. As you can see from Admiral Akbar, he has his yellow eyes. But this is probably one of the worst looking candy toy heads in the set. But if you think the Akbar looks bad, just wait. Here's the Wicked head. This is kind of creepy because it looks like somebody just cut the head off an Ewok. I know all the other toys are just heads, but something about this one just looks like it's been murdered. But again, you have more paint. You got the eyes color, the nose color, and the bottom lip is covered. Why just the bottom lip? You would have to ask the candy maker, not me. Now let's take a look at one of the craziest. Jabba the Hutt. Just Jabba's head. I mean, I wouldn't even be 100% sure if this was Jawa when I saw it. It does have the red eyes, although it looks like it has a terrible paint job, and it has a black Joker-like smile drawn on its face. And they put a sticker right on the top of the head to let you know it weighed 0.4 ounces. Not sure why anyone cared how much this thing weighed. It's not like some parent was saying, I'm not going to buy you that Jabba head full of candy. That thing probably weighs 0.6 ounces. No, Mom, it's only 0.4 ounces. Oh, get 2 of them then, Jimmy. Doubt that happened. A lot of new Star Wars fans love Baby Yoda, but growing up in 1983, we loved Baby Ewok. You could have a baby head Ewok full of candy. And again, it just reminds me of an Ewok with his head chopped off. And it looks nothing really like the baby from the film. And we have a Darth Vader, which is a different mold used for this one than the one from the Empire Strikes Back release. And for one thing, I don't know if I mentioned this before. If I did, sorry, I'm going to mention it again. The candy in these ones came out of the bottom. You had to take the bottom cap off to get to the candy, while the other one had a little hole that shot out of, kind of like a Pez. But here's Darth Vader. It looks different than the Empire Strikes Back one. And to me, although it looks like Darth Vader, I prefer the original Empire candy head. Let's look at the weirdest, craziest one of them all. Sice Snoodles. Look at this thing. It looks like the remains of Mahachi, more than it does some kind of alien from Star Wars. Sometimes looking at this head, even if I know it's Sice Snoodles, I'm not even sure what I'm looking at. I mean, is that a cone on his head, or is that supposed to be the feather? It does have some sexy, beautiful red lipstick that makes you want to take it to your room as a kid and kiss on it. Not just me, right? As a kid, wouldn't you want to kiss on that thing? I mean, we had to get practice in, right? Anyway, that's a look at the candy heads of Star Wars. But let's look at one more thing real quick, an ad for the Empire Strikes Back, because I forgot to talk about it during the Empire Strikes Back candy. This ad was on the side of the top Star Wars Empire Strikes Back trading cards. And I really love the art on this one right here. I know it's not detailed, it's not great, but I just love this era. I just love the art of this era. Again, that's a look at candy heads from the Empire Strikes Back. Which one was your favorite? Was it Bosk? Let me know in the comments below. And what was the weirdest, crazy one of them all? And did you have these as a kid? Honestly, I don't remember having these candy heads as a kid, and I wish I did see them. I'm sure I would have wanted them all. Let me know that and more in the comments below. Well, as always, please subscribe to the channel. Thumb up so I know you like my content, and we will talk again soon.
Junkman.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.